In this video, we're going to be covering all the differences between My Hero Vigilantes anime and its manga. I'm going to be doing this for every single episode, so please tune in and join the Discord so we can yap and discuss all the differences and why they may have come about. The link's below, and I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, right off the bat, we got this opening scene, this opening shot, where we have our idol group from last season. But you might notice a few differences, mainly in the design of the characters, which is minor. We then have this transition shot of our character turning to talk to our idol duo, or at least to call them, alongside a running animation of the other characters, helping break up the transition between these two scenes, instead of just cutting straight to a conversation that we have no reference for. This is called transitioning a cut, something we didn't see in One Punch Man very often. Again, here they show another transition shot from one shot to the next, instead of just cutting straight to a close-up of the two characters, which might seem jarring jumping from one to the next. We get the animation of the other characters running again to add that extra context to the scene and help transition into the close-up. In the manga, we get 3 panels. This is all just 3 panels, 3 different poses. And if you jump from one to the next, it really would feel so off. But because we have these different shot layouts and extra added shots, it really helps break up the monotony of position 1, position 2, and position 3, and helps add a level of depth to the scene that didn't exist in the manga. But at the same time, it wasn't an issue in the manga. Once again, showing that they are capable of breaking up a conversation to make it flow in the anime format, they use the title page as a transition shot for another pose change, where there are 2 characters here are checking in for a train. In the manga, this plays out a bit different. It's not a flashback, it's just this 2 text bubbles with the character who is speaking, I suppose, being a little illustration within the speech bubble. The flashback is a much better way to display her, recalling a memory of her talking and explaining the situation to her, because it isn't entirely clear in the manga. And for this scene, I'm gonna have to stop marking down these transitional scenes because there's so many in it. This shot of our vigilante picking up his snack for the road is anime original. It doesn't exist in the manga. Instead, in the manga, we cut straight to him running as soon as he's referenced in the previous conversation, proving that what the girls are saying is right. But I feel like the scene adds that, ramp up to the joke, making it even better. Although there is something to be said for that flashbang approach to the comedy. So that scene where he's chasing the train, there's actually a lot of differences. See, it actually is only, and let me count them now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels until he's running for that train and he's on the train. In the anime, they have so much embellishment here, and it adds so much to the scene. When he's initially running in the station, we have 7 cuts of different angles that just did not exist in the manga. There was 1 angle in the manga, and that was this panel of him running and her reaction looking at him through the window. Now, another thing is that we don't actually get to see that reaction through the window. Instead, we see a close-up of her and zooming out from the window from an entirely different angle, and we don't get the shot of the 2 of them in frame together. This is mainly because, I believe, for one, it's a pretty hard scene to animate perfectly because it'd be a train moving at high speeds, so even if you did animate it, you wouldn't be able to really make out that it's her reaction in the window. So it's a difference in medium more than anything else. Also, that the train is in CG, meaning that it would have been pretty difficult and probably would have looked quite weird if they tried to pull it off that way. Also, we don't get that 2-way communication and visual when she's on the phone. Instead, we get a POV of the train going at high speed and her on the phone, but we don't get to see who's on the other end. It's just implied that you should know because you would have read last chapter and kept that in mind. However, this is an entirely new season of anime, so I believe that the scene was set up this way because it's a little reminder to say, hey, she's on the other side of the phone. Remember her? The entire sequence of the train pulling into the station, very slow, was done so the dialogue could be delivered in a smoother way than just blurting it all out. And her reaction isn't supposed to be a close-up of just her with, anime line background. It's supposed to be a side view of her seeing him open the door and enter, which, in my opinion, is a far more funny image in the manga than it is in the anime. The close-up of his hand and him just sitting in the chair straight up, anime original, isn't in the manga. It's just speech bubbles in the manga. But because we're in a different medium here, we have to display our information with added details. Otherwise, it's going to come across as a still image PNG style thing like One Punch Man has. Popstep is supposed to be saying something along the lines of, "That's impressive, I'll give you that much." But it's a crazy way to figure it out. She just stays silent in the manga for some reason. Also, her design is slightly different in the anime. She has a completely different hat on. She's supposed to have a beret, but instead she has a sort of leather cap. Also, her glasses are supposed to be entirely one tone, just like showing that the sun is shining in, reflecting off her glasses, so you can't see anything that's underneath, and it's supposed to be two little dots. Personally, it's a creative choice, obviously, but I prefer the manga's version because it's far more characterized than the animes, where they're rosying up everything. And I don't know, part of her character charm when she looks like this, when she's not Popstep, is that she lets herself be quite plain, and then she dolls herself up for Popstep. I don't personally give a crap about the visuals, but for her character, it just doesn't really make any sense. We get multiple new shots of the area that they're entering, which isn't present in the manga. It's a single shot. It helps show the size of the new town that they're in. This angle is a anime original. They once again use another angle of the same scene to help deliver dialogue in a clean way. So in the manga, we get this shot of him running and him looking back, and a imposing shadow enters frame. I cover my face. Imposing shadow comes into frame, and it's like, crap, who that? This is intimidating. Next panel, it's revealed to be Fat Gums. But for some reason, they show us Fat Gums before, so there's no tension, and it's just, oh, it's Fat Gums chasing a guy. Okay. I don't think the mangaka would have added the shadow if it wasn't, one, visually interesting, and two, kind of like a much better setup to introduce a character that we already know if we've watched Boku no Hero. But it leaves a context clue that could lead to us being like, oh, I think it's, and then we turn the page, I was right, it's Fat Gums. Or, oh, that's not who I thought it was. It's just one of those extra little things that makes reading a manga more enjoyable. But it's not present in the anime. Instead, they spoil the surprise. It's a very little thing, minor thing, but it's something, it's a difference. The bullet falling to the ground, completely anime original. I gotta say, extra animation, obviously, when he was grabbing him, 2 extra shots, but the sequence is hilarious to me, okay? Because he's like, I'm paying you back, flicks him, not punching him, flicking his ass, has bro begging for mercy. And it's so like, it starts to take such an unserious tone that the thug is actually like, I only shot you one time, bro. You've planked me loads. Just for Fat Gums to reveal that this is personal, not because he shot a bullet at him, which could have killed him, because he spilled his food. On brand for Fat Gum. And then Fat Gum, he forgives it all. He doesn't care anymore because, oh, sugar and spice, I've overreacted then. And starts apologizing to the guy who did an attempted murder on his ass. And he's like, I pay you back. You didn't deserve all those slugs. You could have 6 of my balls instead. Which is an unintentional punishment in itself because they're scalding hot and it burns the crap out of his mouth. I liked Fat Gums before because in My Hero Academia he has that really, really cool moment in the Overhaul arc. But this added characterization to just icing on the cake. Completely different building than in the manga, with an added shot for transition. 2 extra shots for transition. My bad. Although I will say we miss a sort of jump scare reaction from Popstep for some reason. They just decided to remove it. Really dogging my girl. A few differences here. Obviously, there's a good few differences in them having different shots to help cut up sections that they can deliver dialogue in a clean way. In the next scene, where Fat Gums enters sort of the surveillance room, one, the sign on the door is different, the room itself is different, the computers are different, and what's on those computers is also different. But the rest is pretty consistent. And these aren't bad things either. They're just differences. There was a lot of embellishment in the dance scene. Let's just put it down to a few differences. Needless to say, it's better in the anime. And here, once again, it's another example of where Popstep is supposed to get some attention, but they, for some reason, make it more broad. Instead of focusing on Kaneko calling Popstep to come over to her as she's in this crab mech, for some reason, she's just singing it, hey, look at me, and then they notice her. They just really don't want to do these close-up shots of Popstep for some reason. A lot of embellishment in this scene, along with her lifting the bento box, and among other things, but mainly the fact that it's 3D. It's a 3D model rather than the drawn style that the rest of the anime is like, which looks kind of jank at first, but at the same time, it's a really good 3D model, and they tend to really zoom in on sections rather than letting you see the whole thing in one shot. There's only like 3 shots in the entire episode where you see most of the mech in frame, which is a really good way to show the high detail that you can with a 3D model without looking at how it can take away from the rest of the scene. Once again, the shot when she leaves and the owner looks for Popstep to step in and replace her. They use a lot of different and new angles to help break up the dialogue that they have to deliver, something that they do so well in this anime. Coming from One Punch Man Season 3, that's saying a lot, because we would usually just get a still image and they would deliver that dialogue, very rarely adding new additions to help break it up. There's obvious reasons for that. Seeing it done tastefully and well in a show is quite a refreshing change of pace for me personally. The scenes with Eraserhead though, so when he has his flashback, it's supposed to be while they're out at the festival, past tense, as these three characters interact. They're supposed to be out in the open, walking around among other people, but in the anime they're in a office that is an entirely different scene than it is in the manga. Entirely different area to deliver this exposition, which I don't love. And I can understand why they have, because, you know, it's budget. Rendering an entire, like, concert just to deliver some exposition is a pretty, you know, tough cookie, and why the hell would you do it when it's only going to be for, like, 3 panels? But at the same time, that in the manga helps the world feel bigger, because these characters aren't just always inside. And it really helps to see these heroes, especially Midnight, out in the open, just being a normal person, because we never see that from these characters. And that's what Vigilantes is all about, is grounding these characters, making them feel more like people rather than the caricatures that they are in My Hero Academia. So while an understandable choice, I personally don't vibe with it. But that's all the differences I could find in this episode and its manga counterpart. A lot of differences, and a lot of them are just good changes. Not changes, but good adaptation. Something that I'm not used to. Next week, when this anime airs, I'm going to watch it live, and you guys can react with me. I'm not gonna call it a react per se, but that's what it is. I just hate the concept of reacting in general, but you know, I'll watch it, I'm gonna stream it, and I'll do that for every anime I'm covering in the coming month. So you can get a little look into how I cross-section these anime. So I hope to see you there. Pen it in. The 12th at about 5 p.m. Irish time. You can do the equation on that. But thank you so much for watching. If you want to become a member, I'd love to have you. And join the Discord so you can chat about the differences or just about the production of the anime in general. We have been yapping about One Punch Man last season. So this anime season, we're going to be covering a whole load of new topics. And there are so many talented people in my Discord. I'm spoilt in there. So I'd love for you to shoot me or them a message in Discord. And once again, thank you so much for watching.